Now it is my pleasure to invite our esteemed moderator, Chiaki Soma, and our esteemed panelists, Sarah Al-Mehairi and Sheikh Al-Ketbi, to start the conversation.
So I start. Okay. So, Assalamu alaikum. Yes, so thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. I'm so much honored to be here, and especially I'd like to thank to His Excellency Mr. Ambassador Shihab Al Faheem, yes, and also Her Excellency Huda Al Khamis-Kanoo. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity, and of course those who made this, realized, to help us to be here, to gather here together. And I'm, so much happy to have you both, two female artists from UAE. And for me, it's actually, has a special meaning today. Because I don't know, some of you may know that Shaikha was my student 2-3 years ago, I think, yeah. But I might say she was, already very successful, intelligent, great student. So I feel that I didn't teach anything. She just, ran by herself. So, but anyway, I think it's also in this, our kind of a, friendship that, today we can share this special opportunity. So thank you so much, and I'm very pleased to meet Sarah, you also, and I'm so much, curious to what you do, to know what you do, in your country. But today we have like a bit less than 1 hour, so maybe, we can start, directly to hear from them. First, to have idea what they are doing as an artist. So actually you have, like 10 minutes both, to present your own works. So shall we start like this? I don't know who will start. Yes, so Sarah, please. Yes, and introduce yourself, please.
Yes, hi, my name is Sarah Mehairi. I'm a visual artist and poet based in Abu Dhabi, and I'm going to be sharing a little bit about my practice today. All right, I'm going to be going through a few series of my work, and I thought it was a great starting point to start with this series, which is called Building Blocks, which began actually when I was in my last year of university. And a lot of my work, as you will see, is deeply rooted in abstraction and minimalism, specifically looking at form as a sense of language. So this series actually began with my interest in natural materials or natural looking materials. And in my process, I work a lot with building, rebuilding as well, taking things apart, putting them back together until you find that balance between the material, between the color, and the way the work all comes together. To me, space is also a concept that comes up quite a lot in my work. I do believe that the way the work is installed and the way the works actually do come together is really significant to the work itself. As you can see, the work before, some of them are shown on this wall, but a lot of my work as well is it's a departure and an arrival, I would believe so. So every step has a meaning. What comes before it also leads to the next thing as well. The series actually began with looking also at color as another layer to the work, but it also transformed into something completely different as it was shown in an exhibition called Portrait of the Nation 2, which was actually curated by Maya Khalil, who we have here today, and an ADMAF exhibition. So you can see how space transforms the work. They began as single pieces, but putting them together, these points of connection are a little bit more obvious. I wanted to extend the pieces beyond just the physical object. And a lot of my work also speaks about two-dimensional material, three-dimensional material, and trying to break those boundaries between it. So this was one of the first steps into having the works not just on the wall, but on the floor, in a corner. And you'll also, as I explain my work, you'll begin to see how that is an influence in other works as well. Oops. This is just a closer look at one of them. Points of connection are really important to me, so we're going to move on to this work. I've had the special opportunity for the last 3 days to have a workshop here at the UAE Pavilion, and this was actually the starting point for the workshop, which are these collages where, again, these points of connection do come through, but this time, instead of these natural colors, the use of colors are completely different. And they actually started with these laser cut boards. A lot of my work also comes from recycled materials. So this idea that I actually came upon these boards at a maker space. So they were discarded from other people's projects. I did not know the use of these shapes and how they were coming about, so I used them as stencils instead. And I love to work with restrictions within my work, already having a boundary that comes forward, and to see what I can do with it is really challenging and very exciting as well. All right, I'm gonna go on to one of my main series that I'm working on currently. It's called Off-Centered, where I work with painting and sculpture, and again trying to break those boundaries in between. The balance comes visually, again through color, and it comes through the form as well. You can see that the work has completely transformed through the idea of having these negative spaces as well as the positive spaces of the work as well, trying to find that balance in between. Even though if something's not symmetrical, there's still this idea of balance and how you can come through with it. This is another example of that series on a much larger scale, to show the difference between something that maybe seems a bit more cleaner on the left side and on the right side, to have that dichotomy between. Okay, this is also from the same series. This is the largest scale that I've done so far, which is 350 centimeters, and this is actually a picture of the installation together. You know, going back to the idea that the points of connection are really important, space is really important. That's why with the negative cutouts of the work, it actually blends into one object as well. I mentioned I'm an artist and a poet, but not a lot of text shows up in my work, so I thought it would be really interesting to bring that into the space. This is an installation from 2023. It was a commission from Al Circal Arts Foundation. This was the first time I had actual text out there, and it reads, "Thoughts are like shapes, they change the weather, sometimes I disappear." And on the other side of the alley it said, "Shapes are like thoughts, I change the weather, sometimes they disappear." So I play a lot with language in my work, and I know I said about the balance of forms, but also there's this balance of language that comes through as well. This is just a closer look at it. And I'm going to end with this work, which is my latest series called Shared Motion. It was an installation for the Artier Richard Mill Art Prize at the Louvre Abu Dhabi. A lot of my work starts with the line, as you can see, but in this instance, the line was actually representative of language. The 4 lines that you see over there each represented a sound wave from languages that were most found in the region around the Arabian Sea. So I looked at Arabic, Farsi, Hindi, and Urdu, and I found that the word wind was very similar They just had different inclinations. And so the way the work was done is that the sound waves were transformed into light, and there was also a sound installation as well. One language would go, and then two languages would be over on top of each other, and then all at the same time 4 languages would come together. This was an idea to transform language beyond text, and again, very much rooted in abstraction. I think this is a closer look. And this is a video of it. Yeah. All right, that's all I'm going to do. I know, that's exactly why I chose this video today.
It's floating in the water, right?
Yes.
Wow.
It was speaking about how, you know, languages traveled also physically, and I chose the word wind because it was like a silent element that, you know, allowed for that cultural exchange. I needed to put it back to its environment, and working with the sea as openness and translation as openness as well.
I see. Yeah, thank you. But just, you know, because it's inside the museum or outside?
So the museum has indoors and outdoors. So it was an outdoors.
Okay. So the water part is not your artwork, but you.
But I placed it exactly. That's why
okay.
the space is really important to my practice as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you,
all so much.
Sarah. Okay, so Shaikha, please.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing your very elegant practice with us, as elegant as you. And thank you, Your Excellencies, for your attendance here today. It's really warms my heart to be able to share some of our practice today with you. And thanks to all of the guests who are here today as well. My name is Shaikha Al Ketbi. I have many roles or jobs and many hats, and I'm wearing all of them today. So if we can, I'll just introduce myself very quickly. I'm a visual artist who was born in Al Ain, which is in Abu Dhabi, which is in the UAE. I'm also a cultural attaché, so I work as part of His Excellency's team at the UAE Embassy in Tokyo. And in the context of the pavilion, I worked as the creative director along with a huge team to deliver this huge project together. And so I'm honored to be able to utilize all of these roles today to tell you a little bit about my art. I want to start at a very close project to my heart. My main kind of thesis with my work is really just wanting, or this maybe childish desire for all of your drawings to come to life. This idea that you can put something on a paper and then it can leave the paper and become its own thing. So that was something that I always dreamed of as a child, and specifically there's a scene in the Ghibli movie Sen Tochohiro no Kamikakushi, which is Spirited Away, where Yubaba, the old witch, steals the girl's name by removing her name from the paper and making it float. So that scene really stuck in my head when I was 8, the first time I watched it, and changed, I think, the trajectory of my life. I ended up studying and I ended up doing all of that. So this drawing, specifically this flower, a flower that I drew when I was 6 years old, and I really wanted to just honor my inner child by making it into a sculpture in one of my most recent projects. And then that sculpture was a light installation that was installed in a park that I frequented as a child in Al Ain, in my hometown. And I'll just show a bit more of the other series of sculptures in that same place. The sculpture series is called Imagine It's Foggy, because I wanted it to be a bit more theatrical, and imagining these lights in the middle of the fog would have created such a different atmosphere. And the way I just wanted to play with it is, at first glance, they may look like normal lights, and they are actually copying the same design of the other lights in the park, but they look almost, then they start to twist and turn and they change, and so it really starts playing kind of with people's perception and with magical realism. And so, of course, there's also, this is a motif that I draw very frequently in my work, which is a seesaw, and you'll see now some images or other works that feature this. And this is the last part of the series in the park, which is hopscotch. So at some point in the day, you can actually use the shadow of this piece as a way to play hopscotch with the piece, or to jump between the numbers. So it's really just an interaction of what makes the park a park, and then kind of expand on that directly. So I've been exploring this, really detaching the lines and circles out of paper and moving them into real life through multiple different forms. So this is one of those forms where I actually painted these forms on paper, then created sculptures out of them, then placed them in a specific place between Abu Dhabi and Al Ain and took this photo. The only thing that's missing in this photo is the person holding up these signs. So you almost also feel like there is always a hidden character or a hidden invisible human there. So expanding on that is another part of that same series of kind of brush strokes take their own forms. And of course, the brush strokes are, they evoke a lot of Buddhist and Japanese practices like the enso and the using sumi ink and the lines. All of that was very, it affected me a lot in my practice early on, and this was done in 2017. Then I started to draw. Of course, I draw a lot of figures in my work, but sometimes they're just stick figures, so their head is just a circle, essentially. So I started to say, okay, if the lines and the circles can leave my character, also leave the paper, can go out into real space, and I could perform as that character. So I started creating different characters in different settings and kind of expressing myself through ritual and performance in Abu Dhabi. This is also, it's just a few. Then I also of this series where essentially this character lands from space into a bathtub in the middle of. I've left that bathtub to have all of that formation of the sand around it for weeks before I started filming this work. But essentially, it's just also talks a lot about kind of self-awareness and alienation, and how do we bring all of those themes together through these characters. And I'll be showing this is a more work. Japan, in 3 years, I've moved to Japan here at Tokyo University of the Arts, which is how I met Soma Sensei and Lee Sensei, who is in the audience today. Thank you so much for I'm at school and out of school now. The way I came to Japan and the way that my practice changed is that I had access to different sources. So, sorry. So sorry. Yeah, I wanted to play different, more characters that I've created, but in a new way. And I've really left it up to chance, this specific artwork. I went to a mask artisan who was able to completely replicate my face at some point in time. And so my face turned into an object. Usually, all of the other characters, I cover my face with an object to be able to perform, I think, fully to my or kind of more freely, because I feel like if I keep my face on, then I'm trying to act something. But then I turned my face into an object, and so suddenly now I can play with my face as if it's a mask. And so I created this mask with an artisan in Tokyo, and then I went to a remote, it was not an abandoned theme park, it was just a rainy day, so I don't want to scare you. But basically, I was able to wear this mask and kind of pretend that I am not myself. I am another version of myself with my head upside down. And this is the work that I presented as the final work for my graduation. So you can see she starts her day by wearing her head. This is a place in Gifu called Yoro Park, and it's a collaboration between an architect and a poet. So they created these dreamlike landscapes that I was able to just insert myself into the narrative directly. So this work is on YouTube, so you can find it if you type in my name. But it's a work that I'm very proud to have produced during my time in university and to receive a prize for it. There's a historical prize in the Tokyo University of the Arts called the Salon de Printemps Prize, and my faculty kindly awarded it to me, so thank you so much for that. There's another work, of course. I also, during my time in Japan, I've created this artwork in Atami, and I created another character for it. And this specific work really looks at how we manufacture our own perception of luck. Maybe we're not actually lucky, but we kind of line things up in our life to make ourselves lucky. So it's really about kind of something that I really explore in my work about luck and fortune and our perception of what is positive and negative. And so I'll show some of that film as well.
يوم كنت صغيرة كنت أتحرى كلمة نافورة يعني سلحفاة، وكلمة فندق يعني سنجاب، وأن النافورة تطلع ماي لأن تحتها حوت محبوس داخلها. شكل الحوت اللي كان هني راح بعيد بعيد.
Thank you very much. That's all for me.
Yes, thank you, Shaikha. Yes, this presentation reminded me a lot, our time together at university as well. But as she said, she actually got one of the best prize, at university, which is Salon de Printemps Prize. But I might say that, when I saw her work at the first time, I'm so much, how can I say, surprised, because how she, brought all these, dreamlike, fictional, but a bit realistic mixture of sadness and humor how, it's really amazing. I never seen this kind of expression, and how, this young artist, realized, and she actually, filmed and performed by herself. And that's it, right? Yeah, so you go alone and you shoot alone.
Yes.
Yeah, that's also amazing. So, yeah, so this is one thing, and I didn't tell you, but I'm, curator more focusing on the performing arts. So I also, appreciate a lot what you do with a theatrical approach, but maybe, I'm gonna ask you some more questions and then go back to Sarah. So when you make this kind of a performance and make, video work afterwards, do you have any scenario or how you bring your imagination into the, narratives? Do you have any approach?
It's definitely always inspired by the space that I'm in. So after visiting a space or seeing it once or twice, I already kind of have a sense of how my body is going to react in it. But I leave a lot up to chance, and I leave a lot up to what my mood is in that moment or in that day, or how I'm performing as this character. I really think about the character itself and how I should be expressing that character. But it all, changes because of the space. And as I said, one of the videos, for example, it was a rainy day, so that's why the park was empty. So I get lucky with some of these creative choices that I wish that this will happen, and ends up looking good for the camera. But of course, not every experiment is successful. There's sometimes, because I need to do all of this alone, and it's a very singular, solo kind of process. There are days when I think the final result feels more like a sketch or something that I wouldn't kind of package as a film piece. So it really depends on the character and the space and how I can interact with it.
I see. So maybe, you are very much honest with your own feeling and desire, and and try to reenact, act, directly to the, environment and context. And you are also very good performer in it. Yeah, so you are kind of a very good, actress. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. But maybe, it was really my pleasure also that your starting point was also some influence from the Japanese, animation.
Yeah,
yes.
definitely.
So, yes, and this, also push you to really be honest with your own imagination from your childhood. Yeah, that's also, very, good to know. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, Sarah, yes, and I actually didn't see your artwork in person, in the space yet, but, from your presentation, I'm also very much, surprised, how, diverse, approach you are taking, to, make abstraction. Today, abstraction is very difficult topic, I might say, because yes, in the art history, many challenges happen already, and still, but you feel you, can explore more, and then you are really showing this kind of, different type of approach. But how this, challenge come? Maybe you can a bit, explain, more.
So a lot of my work starts with the grid, which is very much rooted in minimalism. And I feel like with every work that I try to do, I'm trying to break the grid and restructure it again. So that's always a starting point, which is a very exciting starting point, because there's always a point where it's left off that I can always come back to. And I've been always interested in like aesthetics as a way of thinking, which I got into a lot into university. And I always feel like color and form can actually become language as well. It's not just a color is a color or a shape it is a shape. So there's always these linkages that come through, and and I'm constantly trying to push my own practice as well. So that's where these like new points of departures come through, which is really exciting for myself throughout my process as well.
Yeah, yeah. So with this composition with the colors and shape and the lines and the spaces, you create a kind of a very specific narratives, for me.
Yeah.
So I clearly feel some kind of a strategy, behind your composition.
Yeah.
So, and you also, a poet.
Yeah.
So maybe, this, maybe you can also tell a bit more about, how you also find the narratives, in your artwork.
Yeah, I mean, I write a lot during my practice, or during my process, I should say. So a lot of the titles that you see come from this methodology that I've created, where I free write pretty much visuals that come to my mind when looking at is it a color, what does the color remind me of, what does the composition kind of feel like. So for example, like the off-centered series, which you saw, the wood and the paintings coming together, some of them are called like off-centered 6 p.m. or that's where like the poetic or that narrative comes through, because it maybe had reminded me of a certain time. Or I think another one was called like off-centered jewel. So a narrative really comes with the language of the title. The title is also very, very important, to the work. It's almost like an extension. The space is an extension of the artwork. So is the title an extension of the work as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how that narrative comes through.
I see. Yeah, actually, maybe you didn't, clearly see, how, the long title, see actually name for your each artwork,
Yeah.
So that's, maybe kind of a hint also to, dive into your, abstraction.
It's a starting point, like that's my way of thinking about the work, but anyone else could see it differently.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so actually as the audience, we can always enjoy between her, hint as a title and the, artwork itself. So we can actually go on back horse and, see, this, synergy between the words and, 2 or 3 dimensional works. So that's, very, exciting, experience, I might say. And I'm really happy, willing to see in the future the real one.
Oh,
yes.
Hopefully.
Yes. So, okay, maybe we can move to the next questions. Maybe to Shaikha first, because we are in the pavilion of Arab Emirates, which you are, work as a creative director, right? And actually, maybe all of you, saw also the space with a pillar of the date tree, and it's so much, inspiring. And then we can really understand the, the characteristic of this country, from the aesthetic and from the, kind of body experience. So that's very, very successful, I think. But how, did you, involved in this, project, and what was your role, and how, you see, your artistic practice and this pavilion, project? Maybe you can a bit describe it.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm working as a creative director as part of a huge team of people who realized this pavilion, a big team of creatives and expert woodworkers and construction and contractors and really all kinds of people who have come together to create what we call the Earth to Ether Collective, which is the collective responsible for delivering the design of the pavilion. So it's really, for me, it's about what is the question that we are trying to answer, or what are the questions that we are trying to plant in the audience's minds. So for us, it was very important. For example, the design intention from the beginning was to use a material that is so abundant in the UAE, and that is usually used, maybe there's a lot of waste that gets generated because of it. So it's agricultural waste, and then bring that material to the woodworkers in Japan and ask them the question, how can we use this for the future? We used to use it in our houses when, in our Arish houses, which is like a vernacular architecture of the UAE and the region. But how can we utilize again this material for something in the future, or for the modern day moving forward? So, for me as an artist, gesture is very important. The gesture of keeping all of these columns the way they are. They are all sculptural in their own right. We haven't hung anything directly like on the columns as a huge text, for example, or we didn't put a video or a screen directly on the column, because each column is supposed to really enact the symbol of a palm tree or moving within the oasis. So each column also feels like it's a respectable kind of sculptural gesture. And when you see them all together, you really feel like, when you're in the space, you really feel like you're immersed completely in this new world that once you get out of the pavilion, you really realize, okay, I am back in Expo. This transported me a little bit. So, I think I wouldn't be able to do any of that creative direction work until I have discovered myself as an artist and my intentions with the way that I want to communicate with my audience. So I use the same type of logic to be able to design a space around the human experience, but it's just used for a very different purpose. But it's just, for me, it's very clear. Both of them are creative output. It's I've always had a difficulty trying to make a distinction between kind of my art practice and my practice in national storytelling projects. I think both of them are really coming out of me as a person. So it's the same. It's different types of output for answering different questions. I think that's the way I see it.
Yeah, which was very, very successful, and I really enjoy the space itself. And some of my architect friends said, "Oh, UAE Pavilion is one of the best, from the architectural perspectives as well." And now I understand also all this philosophy behind of this architecture, and that's so much convincing. Yeah, and. So Sarah, maybe you can just comment also about this pavilion, because you've been here for the first time, right? Yes, yeah. So how did you find and how you feel find the connection between your own country and this presentation?
Honestly, when I first walked in, I've only been here like just a few days, but every time I come through, I feel like it's very serene. Almost, it's like the colors, the environment, the atmosphere really comes together quite beautiful, and also the balance in the space. I mean, I'm seeing it from a very much artistic perspective, and I hope I have the chance more to explore before I leave. But it's been really beautiful to feel like home away from home, and yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I ask this question because today we are living in the world where we have, of course, multiple perspectives, but at the same time because, for example, I come from Japan, so of course I have many kind of Japanese cultural backgrounds. At the same time, I'm also lived in the other countries in the past, and many different layers, in me. So, in this sense, of course, both of you come from the Arab Emirates, but of course you have, some different layers at the same time. But still, let me ask you the question, because we are in the, in the National Pavilion, and it's also interesting to know how, do you find your do you think is there any influence, to your artwork from the, where you were born or where you are, grew up, which is, Arab Emirates? If so, maybe what kind of influence or, influence you have, from your originate country for your artwork?
For me, I think it's really about delving into what we share as Emiratis, like our consciousness, that where we grew up, how did we spend our childhood, where did we go, and how do we perceive ourselves, how do we perceive others. That all of these questions are very prominent in both my professional work as working in national storytelling projects, but also in my personal life. It's like I always ask the questions about, why does my brother, who's 14 years younger than me, see life differently than I did, and how do we bridge that gap? How do we continue to have the same conversation, even though we've grown up in the same place, but we've had such a different experience, and I'm sure even me and Sarah's experience is entirely different. So I think for me, it's always tapping back into kind of some codes that we have between each other, or something that we would understand. They say, like, if you know, like specific elements within our consciousness that we share, but we don't know that we share. We don't know that we both have the same experience. I really like to tap into those and then expand them, both in my professional practice and my artistic practice. So for me, definitely changed the entire way that I see the world, of course, growing up in the UAE. And then coming to Japan, I also had a very romanticized image of Japan, which is like all based in anime. And the way that anime depicts things actually romanticizes everything. So even when I came here, I didn't find that magic. I found how life really looks like, but of course that magic only comes in specific moments, and you create those moments. That's like you manufacture the scene that you want to live in, So, I think when I came to Japan, I was able to bridge a lot of my older understanding about it, and then utilize a lot of aesthetics that also make sense to my work in the UAE and in Japan. So not very kind of Japan specific. A lot of the work that I've done in Japan, people cannot tell that it's been made in Japan because it still feels like it's out of context. And even the work that I do in the UAE, people question whether it's done in the UAE or not. But of course, people who live in the UAE know it instantly because they grew up with it, but people cannot pinpoint a specific spot. So that, for me, it's a very interesting part of my own practice.
Thank you. Sarah?
My answer is very, very different.
No.
But a lot of my work unintentionally, and there's like this underlying architectural element. So again, I'm gonna go back to space because it's something that is very, very important to the work. But I had a full-on series about walking in the city, which I did not show today. But it was really important to me to always familiarize myself with my environment and then unlearn it. So a lot of my work is not really inspired by my own culture, but it's more about the environment that I place myself in. So a landscape, the colors from the landscape, the way that you experience space. And so that's how my work is specifically connected to the way that I grew up or the way that I am living currently. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Because me, as a curator, it happened to me, of course, to curate, some artists, from the regional context to a local context, and sometimes, audience also need this kind of narratives. These artists come from which context and from which background, and this is important. At the same time, as I said, it's we are, living in the multiple context. So actually, it's kind of gradation, and kind of kind of a complexity. So, but still, I might say that, for example, it's happened to me that I curate a big festival like IT Triannual or Theater der Welt in Germany. But I might say, your work, already in the very global context, and so I only keen to how far you can go with your abstraction or with your strong narratives, and this very unique performance. So today I'm really, yes, get many, nice words from you. And I don't know how much time we still have, but still maybe 10, 20 minutes. Can I continue? Okay. Okay, so oops, sorry. Maybe, we didn't talk about, memory. Yeah, because, as we see, both of the, you output-wise, it's so much opposite, right? Completely opposite. But there are some, common, things between you.
But if I may, because we don't have so much time, but if I may, what touched me here today, with your conversation, I hope I'm not interrupting, with you and with me, is what's common with you. You're international artists. So whether you came from Abu Dhabi, from the United Arab Emirates, or you came from Japan, you talk to us as an international. So you touched me. You emotionally, you have reached me. Emotionally, you made me think. Emotionally, you made me stop. I would know that your art, you come from the UAE because of the kandura of our. But somebody else who wouldn't know, it doesn't matter. It just talk to us, and this when as the moderator said, this is when you want to curate also what is relevant to us. The same, I felt the power of the word in your work when you said the one at the Louvre. Because words are vibrant, and you saw the pigeon came out because they feel it, they feel it. But at the same time, your work can be in Guggenheim, New York, in Japan, in, for example, Mori Museum, and we'll talk to all of us. So this is the strength of these two exceptional ladies for today. For me, I'm so proud of you. When they told me you're going international in a conversation with two young ladies, are they going to be able to talk to the world? Absolutely yes. Thank you.
Oh, after this, wonderful comment, maybe we are nearly at the end of the conversation, but still we have a bit more, time. So, so let me ask, this common topic, which is memory. Yeah, and so maybe, you have different approach. So maybe Shaikha, you can start.
I think for me, it's all of these memories feel very flat, even though I've witnessed them, or like they don't come back into my work as nostalgic. I really don't like that word, and I don't feel like it reduces a lot of the things that I'm trying to uncover within my work. So I think nostalgia is a bit overused as a term, and I think it's too romanticized. I think I'm looking at something within the memories that inspire the work. It's always something, as you said, both happy and sad at the same time, something that's humorous or funny, but also kind of strangely makes you feel empty. There's these two things that are always in tension with each other, I think, for me. And I want to hear Sarah's answer, but I also have one last question for Sarah, actually.
Yes, please.
Your work as, like, when it's completely, when we see the final art pieces here, they're all so, like, succinct. There's a sense of completeness to them, which makes me feel like they also have such a huge potential in crossing the line between art and design. So going towards the direction of design, or even fashion design or textile design. There's so much that this work, for me, I'm already seeing it as product. Like, that's the way I perceive your work. Like, how does it transition into that, and what do you think about that? Or do you feel like you're hesitant to make make any of that work like commercial in that way?
It's actually so interesting. I love your question. I've had this question, or like I've had that comment before, where like it looks like you have a design eye, or people have said like, oh, have you studied architecture? And I haven't done any of that, but the idea of like, I don't know, product in art is quite an interesting one, but it's also a very fine line. As artists, we see our works as they are unique pieces. They are standalone pieces. So to be able to like look at like reproduction is like a whole new layer to that work, which is something I guess I'll think about now.
I think you should. There's just so much of it that can be broken down and then rethought completely. And I think experimenting with that will give you such a new type of satisfaction, like to learn something new about how your art moves onto different objects or gets mapped into different usable items as well. Like, I mean, for me, there's so much we can talk about.
I feel like I'm always like breaking my work down or trying to dissect it and putting it back together. So maybe that's where you see like that syncness or that comes together. But in terms of memory, my work is.
Yes.
No, my work does not relate to like memory as much as maybe Shaikha's work. Like it was in the past where that narrative came back, but at this moment, memory is not. Yeah.
But at the same time, when I see your artwork, it's maybe not come from your, intention, but this your artwork remind me some memories inside of me, right? Yeah, this is the effect actually.
Oh, okay.
So I was,
I think it. Oh, sorry. I feel like it changes like the perspective. Maybe that in terms of like, oh, I saw the way that this form was or this color was, so now I'm going to look at something a little bit more different, possibly. But we can talk also like in terms of like memory, like there's this idea of like process, I think. So that's like where I break things down. Yes, there's a memory of that object before and what it once was or what it's going to be. So maybe that's how that memory element comes through the process.
Yes, and anyway, for me, good artwork is change myself. It's affect to me, and it's remind me something I forgot, or it's just make me feel like suspended, right? Yeah, not answering to clearly what I saw, but just make me kind of yes. So that's why both of you artwork this may make me this kind of a feeling, and that's why I'm so much enjoying this conversation too. So we still have like 5 minutes. So if anyone would like to ask them questions, I think it's can be okay. Like, Yes, please. Maybe we have 2 people, so please. Behind. Thank you. That's kind. Yeah.
ありがとうございました。私からの質問は、最後に、相馬さんが、質問された内容とちょっとかぶっているんですけれども、UAE で生きていくということは、アート作品にどんなインスピレーションを与えてくれますかということなんですけれども、それは例えば日本で生きていくことというのは、フラジャイルエタニティといいますか、自然の中で、地震があったり天災があったりして壊れていく、でもまた四季が続いていって同じ、繰り返しが起きていくということが、わびさびであったり自分たちの意識の中に入っていくんですけれども、何か自然というテーマで言うならば、何かキーワードを UAE で生きていくということがアート作品にどのようなインスピレーションを与えてくださいますかという質問です。
Thank you.
Maybe this question is related to Soma Sensei's last question. However, I would like to know to live in UAE and UAE's settings and environment. What kind of inspiration that would give you as an artist? For example, we are living in Japan, and we are prone to many different natural disasters. We have big earthquakes that can ruin many things, that can damage many things. Many things collapsed, but we rebuild. And then we will encounter the same size of a big disaster again. So this, the kind of circulation repeats itself, and that experience or that the environment will be kind of be cemented in Japanese nature as manifested as the idea of wabi-sabi and others. So in the context of nature, what kind of nature kind of element or characteristics of UAE is giving the inspiration to your artwork?
Good question. ありがとうございます。
There's so much in nature within the different natural landscapes of the UAE that we can get inspired by, and we've made artwork around before, such as it's not only the desert. As you can see also in our exhibition, we showed the different types of different colors of the desert. Also, even the desert is different everywhere you go. It can change the texture of the sand, the color of the sand. So, but then there's also, of course, seas and mangroves and mountains and so many different forms of nature that are directly inspirational for our work. But I would like to answer your question a bit differently. I think it's the thing I'm most aware of in the UAE is not the specific type of nature around us, but actually the nature of the passing of time. Like in the UAE, it's a very young country, it's 54 years old this year. So, and a lot of the experience that we have in that country is very different than my father's experience, very different than my grandfather's experience. And they can tell us stories from their time, but it's not that long ago, actually. It's just been less than 50 years, and all of these changes happened. So for us, I think many artists are aware of the speed of how the UAE is changing, and they have to ride the wave of that speed as well. They have to be faster than that, because also art tells you about the future. So I think that's the most prominent element that affects the way that a lot of artists think. But I'm curious to know, Sarah, what you think. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
まずですね、自然というこの観点から申し上げますと、自然という観点から申し上げますと、この UAE におきましては、さまざまなこの景色、そして環境というのが存在します。例えば砂漠というのが非常に皆さんすぐに思い浮かばれると思うんですけれども、砂漠であってもですね、私がこの過去に展示したこのアート作品の中では、砂漠を表現するだけでも非常に単一の色ではなくってさまざまな色使いをすると。つまり本当の砂漠というのは砂の質感であったり、また色であったり、それも本当に一つではなくっていろいろなその質感があって色があるわけなんです。でまた海もあります、マングローブもあります。そういった意味で作品に反映するにしてもですね、さまざまなこの景色、そして自然というのが反映できると思います。しかしながらですね、私は今のご質問者さんの質問に対しては違った答え方をしたいと思います。それは UAE でどのように時間が流れているか、そういった観点からお話をさせていただきたいと思うんです。UAE というのは皆さんご存知のように非常に若い国でありまして、まだ国ができてから54年ほどしか経っておりません。そして私たちの多くはですね、この UAE の中でこの時間というのが非常にこのスピードが速いと、時間が流れるのが速いというふうに思っています。それは実は私たちの両親の世代、私たちの祖父母の世代、それぞれ全く私たちとは違った経験をしているわけなんです。なので私たちの両親の世代に話を聞きますと、私たちのこの環境とは全 く違うようなそういった経験を話してくれます。それはしかしながらそんなに遠い昔の話ではありません。非常に近い話なんです。まだ50数年しか経っておりませんので。ですのでそれだけ UAE では時間がスピードが速いということ、変化が非常に速いスピードで起きているということなんです。ですのでこのアート作品というのは未来をこの語ることもできます。ですのでそのような変化の速い国、そして環境にいる中でそういったその時間のスピードというのが私たちのアート作品に大きな影響を与えていると思っています。
Yes, Sarah.
No, it's, oh, sorry. I just wanted to say that like that's really an important element I feel, because we're like, not only is time passing, but like as artists, as creatives, I feel like we're constantly adapting as well. Like not only is the country growing so fast, mashallah, but like, yes, exactly. And I feel like we're constantly like matching that as well. And I just wanted to say the last, few years, there's been so much investment into shedding light on like public spaces. So not only is our country and our landscapes like giving us inspiration, but the way that artists are also transforming these spaces and shedding light on maybe islands that we have never maybe visited or like, yeah, before that, it's been absolutely amazing to see that we're able to add to that growth and that transformation as well. Yeah. Team up. Yeah. And I've never been to that island as well, but because of that, I was able to go. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay, next question.
I wanted to ask another question, but I'll ask this one. Your practices are so different, and at the same time, it's so interesting because we are forced to find the mode of conversation that relates them somehow. Shaikha, there is a certain fluidity and porosity in your work that completely opens up all possibilities. We feel these possibilities. And you, having studied in Japan, I think, and having even some of your practices are influenced by this, even though we don't see it, but we see that openness in your work. At Sarah, you, on the contrary, you build grids, and you say that you start with grids, but then as soon as you break them, you build them again.
Yeah.
And so my question to you actually is that you are in Japan now, and you said that you're going to Tokyo afterwards, and you're exploring.
Yeah.
Do you expect at least to lengthen the time where you are in between grids before you rearrange another grid, so that to allow what Shaikha actually was hinting at, to break some of the grids and stay in that moment in between where possibilities are? So, and the question to you, Shaikha, would be, what would make you uncomfortable? What are the situations that will put you out of your comfort zone to bring the possibilities for something that's unexpected?
Oh, those are both difficult questions. For my work, it's very much a step-by-step process, and I like to, I actually don't have much time between when I delve into a work, I really like to almost like, I don't give it much time to ponder. In the beginning, it was quite intuitive, and I would have that space in between, but recently, in the last year and a half, I feel like I've planned a work, and then I create the work, so it's a lot of, it doesn't show over here, but there's a lot of digital process that comes before the work, so it is quite quick when I am in that process, so, that comment's really interesting, because now time is going to be something I'm going to be thinking about a little bit more between my steps. But yeah, that's a very great insight, so thank you.
I don't have a specific clear response to your question, but I feel like if I'm observing my life from third person, it would really look like I'm completely allergic to comfort, really, actually. So I think, for me, it's also about because of the multiplicity of roles that I have in daily life. I think for every role I do create a personality. I create an entire new character that I have to play, which is, it goes back to why I'm kind of allergic to comfort. It's because that every day of my life or every situation requires a version of me that I might have not created yet. And I really enjoy performing even on a daily basis. So I feel like, every suit that I wear or everything that I do on a daily basis actually provides a new canvas for me to act in a totally different way and really experiment with these codes in real life, and then they will somehow appear back in the work. So I think that's where my head is at the moment.
While also working at the embassy. Giving her lots of projects.
Thank you so much.